My family ghosted me for 3 years. Then I discovered they hid my grandfather's death, faked his life, and stole his house. Now I own everything. Most of these people I hadn't seen in 5 years, and some for even longer. Some I was pretty sure I had never met. Someone handed me a plastic flute of champagne. A child dashed by clutching a paper plate like a steering wheel. There were folding seats, paper lanterns, and a Bluetooth speaker playing nice music. All of the components for a low-key outdoor gathering are joyous, but a little odd. It should have gone well, and it did for the first hour or so. I stood near the table of finger foods, pretending to be interested in grape skewers. My husband, Roger, was behind me, clutching a glass of white wine and looking around with that blank, enigmatic expression he gives when he's too polite to say he wants to leave. Mom was in her element, hugging people, wiping away tears, and reapplying lipstick with a tissue. Dad was seated near the grill, moaning about the weather as if it had offended him. My sister Natalie was, predictably, nowhere near me. Her husband was laughing about something that no one else considered amusing. It was Grandpa's house, but it no longer felt like him. He constructed it once the business took off. Nothing spectacular, but significant enough that many commented on how well he had done for himself. Mom, Dad, Natalie, and her husband now reside here. I guess there was room. We had flown in from London the day before. For years I'd asked when we could come visit, but the response had always been unclear. It is not a good time. He doesn't feel well. Perhaps next year. Then this spring, Mom told me, if you really want to see him, come for his birthday. So I took it. I assumed she was softening, and that this signified something. The party was already in full swing when they wheeled Grandpa out in a wheelchair, his hair well groomed and wearing a sweater vest that I barely remembered. Everyone applauded as if he just walked the red carpet. I stood there, frozen. He looked nice. Too good. His face was smooth, his eyes remote, as if he were half listening to a tune no one else could understand. I waved. He did not return the wave. I explained to myself that it was due to my age. Mom leaned forward and whispered, "He doesn't talk much anymore. It's hard for him." I nodded as if I understood. She raised her glass and started the toast, her voice wavering just enough to make it personal. 90 years of wisdom, love, and generosity, she told me. He built our family. He gave us this life. Some of the attendees sniffled. A woman behind me said, "Beautiful," under her breath. Roger did not clap. I realized that he was staring. "Hey," I whispered softly, prodding him. "What's wrong?" He did not respond. I just continued studying Grandpa, or the man in the chair, as if he was memorizing every wrinkle. "Roger," I repeated. That was when he leaned in. "Get your bag. We're leaving. Act like nothing's wrong." I genuinely laughed. "You're kidding." He didn't grin. His eyes did not move. "Get your bag." "What are you talking about?" "Smile. Walk inside. Pack now." I stared at him. "Roger, what is this? We just got here." He gently turned his head, finally staring at me. "Something is very, very wrong." That was not how he said it. He seemed so calm, as if this were a fact, like gravity. My hands got cold. I looked back at Grandpa. He had not moved. His hands lay on the armrests as props. "Are you serious?" I inquired. Roger didn't respond. He was already headed towards the home. I followed upstairs. I fumbled with the zipper of my overnight bag. My heart was thumping. My mouth was dry. I kept thinking, if he's wrong, this will be extremely embarrassing. If he's correct. We exited the front entrance. Nobody stopped us. Nobody even looked up. Roger opened the passenger door for me like a gentleman in a spy movie. We both got inside. He locked the doors. Then he grasped the steering wheel and said, "That's not your grandfather." I used to think I was hallucinating the difference between how things turned out for me and my sister. Maybe I was overly sensitive. Maybe I was overdramatic. Perhaps I just enjoy finding reasons to feel left out. That's what I told myself for years, until Natalie turned 18 and everyone in the house pretended she was boarding the Titanic. She was standing at the front door with her duffel bag and a full tuition scholarship, and her mother was crying like someone had died. "You don't have to go," she repeatedly said. We'll manage. Please just stay for a bit longer. Meanwhile, 2 years ago, when I turned 18, I received a suitcase and a nod. It's time to grow up, Dad had remarked. You're an adult now. Go build your life. No embraces, no tears, and no offers to help me pack. I do not want to seem bitter. I really don't. I moved out, I went to college, I went on with things. But there's something about being hustled out the door as a nice guest while your sister begs to stay. That kind of sticks. The strange thing is that I didn't even have a choice concerning college. I knew I needed to depart. Not because anyone told me to, but because I needed a reason to quit. My parents didn't contribute anything. I don't think they inquired what I was studying. It was Grandpa who assisted. Quietly. He handed me money every few months, enough to cover rent, groceries, and the occasional breakdown. No fuss, no lectures. Just a folded check and a letter in his unsteady handwriting. I hope this helps. I am proud of you. He did not owe me that, yet he did it nonetheless. I remember him from the beginning. I had Grandpa before I could form whole phrases. He'd pick me up and tell me stories in a voice that seemed to know all the mysteries. He created me wooden toys and taught me how to operate a hand plane while I was still wearing Velcro sneakers. He smelled like cedar and peppermint tea. Back then, it felt like he was mine and I was his favorite. Perhaps I was. However, life has a tendency to separate people. College transformed into a career. A job evolved into Roger. And then we found ourselves living in London. It was not a dramatic escape. It was opportunity, work, timing, and, to be honest, relief. Being far away made everything seem easier. It's easier not to notice how rarely my parents call. It's easier to assume the silence was due to time zones. It was easier not to experience the strange hollowness that usually accompanied any chat with Natalie. We stayed in touch, regardless of how friendly it appeared. Holiday emails and the occasional Zoom conversation. My last genuine conversation with Grandpa was over one of those video calls. He appeared older, but still sharp. He inquired about my work. I asked about his garden. He joked about squirrels stealing all of his tomatoes. That happened 3 years ago. After then, things became quieter. I'd asked to speak with Dad, but Mom would say he was asleep, not feeling well, or was too weary. She eventually stopped answering altogether. I told myself that it was normal. People age and withdraw. Perhaps it was difficult for him to speak. But something about it never seemed right. So I did not press. I had a life, a career, and a husband. I convinced myself it wasn't personal that I hadn't been cut out, but rather softly and graciously left behind. And then, there was the birthday invitation, or more accurately, permission. Mom had stated on the phone, come for his 90th. I didn't hesitate. I booked the flights that night. I assumed it meant something. I thought maybe this was the moment things changed, and I was welcomed back in. Instead, I strolled into a gathering where I knew no one, stood on unfamiliar turf, and understood that this location had stopped being mine, if it ever was. Mom, Dad, Natalie, and her husband all live here now. They'd accepted the house as a natural extension of their intimacy, their true family. I was merely exploring the outside. I kept telling myself it was all in my imagination, that I was projecting and that I was acting dramatically again. But then Roger leaned in and said, "Get your bag." And everything felt real. We sat in the car as if we had just committed a crime or perhaps escaped from one. I could not identify the difference yet. Roger gripped the driving wheel as if he were expecting it to bite him. His knuckles were white. I was still frozen halfway through buckling my seatbelt as if nothing was real unless I clicked it all the way. "What do you mean it's not him?" He did not glance at me. "I mean, it's not your grandfather." That's not. "What are you talking about?" "I'm serious," he said calmly, but not kindly. "That man in the wheelchair. That's not him." I looked at him as if he had stated the cake was made of uranium. "You think someone what? Put on a mask, like some Scooby-Doo villain?" "Not a mask. His ears are different." I blinked. "His ears?" Roger eventually looked at me. "You don't get it. I remember faces. Every detail. I have since I was a kid. I can sketch a person I saw once at a train station in 2009. I don't forget faces or ears. That's not your grandfather. My stomach suddenly turned to water. I did not want to laugh, heh. The unraveling, high-pitched, slipping off a cliff variety. I pushed my fingers to my face. My intellect attempted to reason its way through it. But what else might it be? Who else might it be? Roger gazed back at the house. Your uncle. What? Didn't you say he looked a lot like your grandfather when he was younger? I did. I had. He did. But that happened years ago. Aside from my uncle, he was not present, was he? He hadn't attended the celebration. Hadn't said anything. Plus, oh my God, I whispered. He was wearing eyeglasses and a beard, probably makeup. It wasn't excessive, but just enough. And I'm telling you, those ears, different shapes, not even close. Roger. I know, he replied. I know what I saw. I placed my forehead against the window. My breath clouded the glass. My heart was rattling as if it was about to punch a hole in my rib cage. I did not want to believe him. I wanted to return to when this was simply a strange gathering, and I was the unwelcome guest, disappointed daughter, or out-of-town stranger. That version of reality seemed very safe. Now, then. Where is he? Roger didn't respond. Where is he? I felt the question pass through me like a fever. Where is Grandpa? Suddenly, everything shifted. Those embarrassing toasts, the crying. The guest list is half empty. No one allowed me to come close to him. He was always silent. The way they shut me down whenever I attempted. I haven't talked to him in 3 years, I admitted aloud. Roger looked at me. What? I swallowed. 3 years. The last time was over Zoom. He looked tired. Then Mom said he was too sick to talk. Every time I called, it was either he's resting or he had a rough night. I assumed I was simply being dramatic. But I wasn't sure whether I'd been shouting into a void the whole time. Okay, Roger said. I think you need to call someone. I stared at him. You mean the police? He nodded once. If we're wrong, we're not. I did not move. I didn't breathe. I was envisioning Mom's expression when I departed. That tight little smile that did not reach her eyes. Her head shook slightly, like if I had unexpectedly entered my own existence. I'm going to ruin everything, I said. Sarah. Roger spoke softly. You're not the one who did that. I went for my phone as if it was 1,000 pounds. My thumb hovered above the screen. And then I phoned. The police arrived sooner than I thought. 2 cops, nondescript clothes, and quiet. They spoke to us outside the automobile. I told them what I could, which wasn't much, and tried to sound as reasonable as possible, which wasn't easy. I know this sounds strange, but I believe someone is impersonating my grandfather. I don't know where he is, and I think something's wrong. They asked quiet questions that felt like traps, even though they weren't. Then they nodded and approached the house as if they were delivering a package. I stayed in the car and watched. The party did not end right away. Nobody yelled. Nobody ran. It was worse than that. Everything just darkened, as if someone had turned the reality dial down a few notches. People continued to wear glasses and grin, but their eyes darted and their shoulders tightened. The officers started moving people away. I observed one of them speaking to Mom. She appeared as if someone had informed her that the wine was corked. Then she became defensive, waving and shaking her head. Her lips moved quickly, but her hands did not. She wasn't touching anyone, including Dad. He stood off to the side, peering at the hedge as if it contained answers. I observed them interact with the man in the wheelchair. He didn't say anything. Then they must have asked for identification. Mom walked inside and returned with something. It didn't change anything. The policeman knelt again and spoke quietly. They maintained that professional stillness, remaining cool, collected, and unreadable. Then one of them rose and walked away. The other stayed. Eventually, the man in the wheelchair glanced up and spoke. Only a few words. Then he nodded. It was not over. Not even close. An officer returned to the automobile. Can you stay nearby? We'll contact you soon. Is it him? I inquired. Is it my grandfather? We're still confirming some things. But you know it's not him. He did not respond to that. He walked away saying, "We'll be in touch." I sat there, feeling every second pushed down on me like, where is he? Where is he? That night my phone called again. "How could you?" said Mom. I couldn't tell the difference between being furious, sobbing, and screaming. "You called the police on us, in your own family? You think you're better than us because you moved away?" I attempted to talk. I could not. "You don't understand. You weren't here. You didn't see what it was like. We did what we had to do for him, for all of us." My voice broke as I said, "What did you do? Where is he? You don't get to ask that. Not now. Not after what you've done. Where is Grandpa?" Silence. After a click, the line went dead. When the cops arrived at our hotel room door the next morning, I thought I might vomit. Not because I was afraid of them, though that was a possibility, but because a part of me still hoped Roger had snapped, misinterpreted something, or gotten carried away. Mistaken ears. Mistaken identification. Everything was a mistake. However, they did not come to arrest or question us. They came to tell me my grandfather had died, had been for 3 years. They didn't phrase it that way, of course. They were calm and professional. One officer handled the majority of the talking, while the other kept an eye on me as if I were about to leave. There's been a voluntary statement made. The family reports that Mr. Ellis passed away in March 2022. They claim it was caused by natural causes. The body was privately buried. I sat down. I couldn't feel my legs or fingers anymore. "We're treating this as an open investigation until the coroner can confirm the circumstances of death." The words bounced off of me like raindrops on a locked automobile. I overheard them. I simply didn't absorb them. 3 years. 3 years. And I had been sending birthday cards. I had been requesting for Zoom calls. I had been wondering if I had done anything wrong, if Grandpa was upset with me for moving away, or if he was simply exhausted, confused, or too unwell to converse. Number. He was gone. They did not even tell me. They did not inform anyone. I can scarcely recall what I said to the police. I believe I asked if he suffered. They claimed they didn't know yet. I believe I asked if the man at the party was my uncle. They nodded. I wanted to shout. Alternatively, you could hit something. Alternatively, crawl into a hole and never come out again. Instead, I said thank you like a good girl or a polite moron. The news began to spread online a few days later. At first, there were only whispers about Reddit posts and a local gossip site. But then someone released a grainy, shaky phone video of the birthday toast. My mother wiped her eyes. No, not my grandfather, who pretended to listen as if everything was true. This man died 3 years ago. His family threw him a 90th birthday celebration. Anyway, he was portrayed by someone else. The internet did what it always does. I laughed. Then it speculated. Then it ripped us all to pieces. I did not read the remarks. Not after the first 20. Apparently, I was everything from an accomplice to a narcissist to an ungrateful brat who should have simply allowed her family deal in peace. People had opinions. People usually do. Then the lawyer called. Not their attorney, Grandpa's. "Sarah, I've been trying to reach you for some time." I almost hung up. "Your grandfather left his estate to you. The house, the business assets, the remainder of the trust, everything." I glanced at the floor, at the dreaded grout line in the kitchen tile that never quite lined up. My throat became dry. "This wasn't a secret," he explained gently. "He told your mother, your sister, years ago." All of a sudden, everything came together. The lies, the secret, fake parties, the man in his wheelchair. They hadn't simply been concealing his death. They had been keeping it from me. Because if he died, the estate became mine. And if I didn't know, they could keep living in his house, spending his money, and pretending I didn't exist. I called my mother. I wasn't sure what I wanted answers to. She picked up on the second ring. "How dare you?" Her voice trembled with indignation. Not in sadness, humiliation, or fury. You called the police on your own family. You humiliated us. You have no idea what you've done. I attempted to talk. She did not let me. You weren't here. You don't know what it was like. You left. You gave up on this family. And now you swoop in and act like some hero. Where is he? I interjected. Silence. What happened to him? What did you do with his body? You don't get to ask that, she responded coldly. You weren't there. I asked every year, I explained. You lied, every time. We were protecting him, protecting you. He didn't want a big deal made of his death. He wanted peace. I laughed. Actually, I laughed. It came out fractured and sour, like if something had shattered under strain. You didn't protect him, you looted him. That's when she hangs up. Weeks have passed. The investigation progressed slowly, then quickly. There were statements, interviews, and subpoenas. Eventually, the coroner validated my family's claim. Natural causes. My grandfather died in his sleep. There was no trauma, poisoning, or violence. Only a peaceful death for an elderly guy. I cried for the first time since the police visit, since I could finally mourn him without hesitation. However, there was still fraud, impersonation, and money. Charges were filed for failure to report a death, hiding information, illegally accessing funds, and identity falsification. They did not receive any prison time. They received conditional probation, which was closely watched and strictly enforced. If they make the same mistake again, they will face jail time. My uncle, the performer, had his own charges, but he cooperated. This appeared to help. He received probation like the rest of them. And me? I have the house. The entire property, the assets. It wasn't insanely lavish or billionaire level, but it was a lot. Enough to explain why they had been pretending for so long. I didn't toss them away. The courts did. They went out in silence. No apologies, no eye contact. My mother put a note on the kitchen counter. It stated, "You always were good at taking what you didn't earn." I burned it in the sink. The first night I spent there alone, simply visiting, I sat in Grandpa's recliner before returning to London. I opened a bottle of wine and placed my feet on the table. The apartment was quiet and still smelled like wood polish. I didn't feel triumphant, vindicated, or outraged anymore. I miss him. For the first time in my life, I did not feel like a stranger. I haven't communicated with my folks since, or my sister. Not even a text. Sometimes I wonder whether I've gone too far. Sometimes I wonder if I didn't go far enough. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more articles like this, please subscribe and tap the bell.